Hey everybody, welcome to the latest installment here of the Morning Drive here on the Majors TV. I am Adam Hernandez. We've got March Madness and the NCAA tournament. It's here. It's finally here. In my opinion, the best sporting event of the entire year. Just the action from top to bottom is it's second to none. It is definitely my favorite. I think it's better than the Super Bowl. I think it's better than the World Series, and so on and so forth. It's just such an exciting time. But this morning I want to get to the biggest question marks surrounding or heading into the NCAA tournament, and let's just go ahead and jump into it. Starting with tonight, the first four, we're going to have K-State going up against Wake Forest, and this is all going to be centered around some of the biggest sleepers that you can possibly be looking at here heading into the tournament. And I don't think you have to look any further than Wake Forest themselves. I think Wake Forest is a team that perhaps may be a little bit down on the when it comes to the rankings, and certainly maybe not your typical play-in type of team. But I think that they're a team that is going to get by K-State tonight. And when they go and they play Cincinnati, I think they're a team that can beat Cincinnati, namely because they're going to have two of the best players on the floor, or the two best players on the floor in John Collins and Brent Crawford. I think those are two guys that are going to be, they're obviously going to be NBA bound, and John Collins has been talked about as a potential lottery pick. So I think Wake Forest definitely gets by K-State tonight, and I think that they get by Cincinnati too, as one of my upsets. Another team that you have to look at too is East Tennessee State University. Their backcourt is very, very good, and I think that they have nice talent spread all around their entire roster, from the backcourt up to the front court. I believe they play Florida in the first round. Now, I'm not putting the money where my mouth is, but I think that they can definitely play Florida very, very well. And they're a team that you might want to look at as far as being a potential first round upset here. Another one is Middle Tennessee State. I think based off of what happened last year, you see, heading into the tournament this year, I don't know how much you can consider them a sleeper, considering what they did last year against a Michigan State team who many thought could go and play for a national championship, beating them in the first round. This year, they returned an even better team. And I think that they're going up against a team in the first round that isn't as good as the Michigan State team that they played last year in Minnesota. That's another team that I'm going to go ahead and pick as a first round upset, Middle Tennessee State University. So, other than that, those are my sleepers. Moving along, though, I want to take a look at the Big Ten and kind of how the selection committee kind of overlooked some of these seedings with the Big Ten, and I want to focus on four teams in particular. That's going to be Minnesota, Maryland, Michigan, and Wisconsin. I think that I can't remember if Maryland or Minnesota were 5 and 6 respectively. I know one of them's a 5, I know one of them's a 6, but I think you could easily swap either one of those two teams with Wisconsin and Michigan. Frankly, based off of how Wisconsin and Michigan played in the NCAA, or not the NCAA tournament, but the Big Ten tournament, and just how bad Maryland especially was down the stretch of the regular season. I don't think Maryland deserves to be as high as they are, and I think teams like Wisconsin, and I think a team like Michigan is going to it's going to hurt them a bit, being being seated where they are. Unfortunately, I don't think Michigan is going to get very, very far in the tournament based off who they're going to have to play in the second round. I think Michigan is going to be matched up, I believe, against Louisville probably in the second round. And as far as Wisconsin goes, if memory serves me correct, I took another look at my bracket this morning. I believe Wisconsin is going to play Villanova in the second round. So I don't think things quite work out for them on that side of the bracket as well, which is unfortunate because I think both of them showed that that they certainly deserve to be ranked higher than they are. Wisconsin, taking down a hot Northwestern team in the tournament, and then Michigan doing what they did in the Big Ten tournament was really quite remarkable. I mean, you could make the argument. Well, it's not really an argument you want to make. It was a scary situation for Michigan, what they went through with the plane crash and everything, going out to DC for the Big Ten tournament, and having to play Illinois on the same day that they arrived. They arrived in DC in the early morning hours of last Thursday, and then they had to go and play Illinois for a noon tip, which I thought was kind of bullshit on the Big Ten's part for not moving that game back a little bit to give Michigan some relief. But I think Michigan proved that they're one of the toughest teams in the entire country, and who knows? Maybe they could be another team as well that could move on and move past the second round into the Sweet 16. But I'm not picking them to. I'm certainly picking them to beat Oklahoma State, who isn't a team to gloss over as well. The Oklahoma State, they say, has a very, very good offense. One of the best in the country, and they're going up against a Michigan team in the first round that doesn't play defense really well. But I'm still going to go ahead and take Michigan, and I'm digressing a little bit from the Big Ten here. But that's pretty much it with the Big Ten. I think Purdue is fine where they ultimately came out ranked at, and the same goes for Northwestern as well. Moving along, I want to take a look at the best and worst region. The best region is obviously, I don't think there's any debate about it. It's going to be the South. When you have teams in there like UCLA, Kentucky, North Carolina. You even look further down the bracket itself. Butler, I believe, is a number 4. They beat the defending champs, Villanova, twice during the regular season, I believe, and very much carrying over that success they had with Brad Stevens in this new era. I'm a big fan of Butler too, so I may be a little biased in that. But again, you look further down. Dayton and Wichita State, they'll be playing each other. Two very, very good teams in their own right. I believe Wichita State is a little underranked heading into the tournament, but a good region really all around. And as far as the worst region goes, you have to look out west with Gonzaga. And the region that they're placed in. I think Gonzaga is really fortunate. I'm going to get to them in a second. But I believe it's the West region with Gonzaga and Notre Dame in Arizona kind of sitting there at the top. But again, the West region, the West bracket, definitely I think is the weakest of the 4. And I wish I double-checked that because I believe Gonzaga and Notre Dame, and I know they're all in the same bracket, but I believe it's the West. Sorry, I'm kind of blanking on that right now. But speaking of Gonzaga, I know one of the bigger question marks may be whether or not they can finally go and get to a Final Four. I've never been high on Gonzaga entering in the tournament, namely because of the conference that they play in. I think they kind of play in the anti-Big East out west. And I just don't think that they're tested enough throughout the season. Everybody's always really high on them. And I think this is the best chance that Gonzaga has to finally make it to a Final Four. Unfortunately for Zag fans, I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think that they make it to the Elite Eight, but they ultimately fall to Arizona in the Elite Eight. And I just want to say that, Gonzaga, I hate ragging on them too much, but you know what? They don't play anybody. I think they had the 77th hardest schedule in the entire nation. Certainly not, in my opinion, deserving of a number one. I think that goes to Duke. Yeah, I'm sorry to say, but I don't think the Zags are going to be a team that a number one that makes it to the Final Four this year, and it's all namely because of the conference they play in, and them just not being tested enough. So finally, perhaps another big question mark is, can Villanova repeat? They're placed in a conference, or not a conference, but a region with Duke, and I think that that's probably going to be their biggest competition in that region. And I certainly do think that they meet Duke in the Elite Eight. But I think Villanova is returning a very, very good team, and I certainly do think that they can repeat as champions. I know one of the bigger questions after that is who's in the Final Four and who's ultimately the national championship, or the national champion, excuse me. And I'm going to get to that, but we're going to have to wait, because that is coming out on themajors.net a little bit later today. Well, I'll go ahead and I'll pick my Final Four. I gave a little insight on that just a second ago with Arizona, but as far as the other three teams go, I will go ahead and pick those as well, along with Sean Bell. Like I was saying, stay tuned for that, and we will go ahead and we'll see you next time here on the Majors TV for the Morning Drive. Have a good rest of the day, everybody.